Article review of Board Games as Playful Pedagogy Pivots by Higgins and McFeetors. Trying a few new things today, one of which is jumping between this and this. The other is that my notes are over there, so if you see me looking down a lot, that would be why. Maybe they'll be right here. That works. So, Board Games as Playful Pedagogical Pivots for STEM Teaching and Learning by Mark Higgins and Janelle McFeetors at the U of A. Right away, I recognized this name here. Janelle McFeetors was one of the professors that I reached out to directly to ask for a math course that I could take, and she was really nice and responded and chatted and really heard me, and I think was a big part of that process. I still don't know exactly how this came to be, but I think Janelle was a part of that. And after reading her article, I think that I would get along with her and Mark even more. So this is all about this idea of playful pedagogical pivots. It took me a long time to understand what a pedagogical pivot is, and I'm still kind of loose on it, but it really just seems like affordance vocabulary, opportunities for learning. And board games give us playful opportunities for learning. So the article really looks at one game in particular, which is called Santorini. This is Santorini, and it goes through Santorini's, the designer, Dr. Gordon Hamilton, his notes and his journals to kind of get a scope of how we could use board games for this playful learning experience, specifically with this game Santorini, which is great. It's local. And it looks like an awesome game, and it has a Greek theme, which in grade 6 is just great. So this is what it looks like, and it's primarily a 1v1 game, although you can play it up to 4. I'll link a description of the game, but what's neat about it is it's kind of a chess style game where you move your builder, and then you can build these houses anywhere where the builder is touching, and the goal is to get your builder up to the 3rd level. But you can only go up 1 level at a time, and you can cap a building to the 4th level so that they can't get up on this 3rd level. So one of those classic, easy to learn, fast to learn, forever to master, or whatever you call it. So I'm already excited to buy at least 1, if not 4 copies and actually play it, and that's kind of what I'll talk about here. But let me try to follow my thing here. So the article brought me to Santorini, which brought me to Gordon Hamilton. A quote that they used in the article that I loved was, "Whenever I'm talking to parents, I tell them that their number one job is not to go home and do worksheets with their children. Their number one job is to adopt a board game. And that's because the core of mathematics is problem solving, and games are the most joyous excuse for problem solving." So that's from his interview with SentryBox. It's a 7-minute clip. Maybe I'll post it here as well. Really, really neat insight into Gordon Hamilton's view on games and creating games and the educational function of those games. The article spoke of this play to learn scam that students can see right through, and I couldn't agree more. This idea that as soon as you're playing a game only for its educational purposes, students see right through it, and it very quickly stops being fun. And very quickly, because it's no fun anymore and you don't have the engagement, stops really being a learning opportunity. And so the article talks a little bit about breaking this dichotomy between educational and fun. This idea that school is not fun, so we have to have educational games to make it fun, is very harmful, as well as this idea that anything's fun isn't educational because it's fun, and that this is a dichotomy that you're choosing between fun and educational. Is really, really harmful. And I think the article did a great job of pointing out that not only can games, which are primarily for fun, be extremely educational, but education can also be really fun. And I think that that's a core piece of what I hope to bring to my classroom, is this idea that learning is fun. Like, it doesn't matter if we're reading straight from the textbook, that can still be play if we look at it with the right lens. Just as straight playing a game can still be learning if we look at it with the right lens. And I think that being aware of all these pressures that come through really helps in that regard. Gordon Hamilton, there's another quote where he says, what is it? Oh, you should also avoid educational games. Most are painful to play. And so he kind of says that same thing. If a game is built primarily for this educational value, it's really hard for it to actually be a good game. And there's that balance there. Random connection, I was listening to the Fugees album all week, and Lauryn Hill says something a few times about like adding in swears for the ignorant listeners. And the connection to me is about things need to be accessible for them to actually be effective. And I don't think it's a really that good of connection, but I've been listening to a lot of them. So that play to learn scam, Hamilton quoting on the like don't play these educational games, avoiding that whole dichotomy. And the great thing about games are that they're more of an open system. You know, they're this balance of, because a game has rules, it allows for more creativity. This kind of interesting dichotomy, not a us versus them, but a, you know, like the what Davis would say, like it's a closed system which makes it an open system. But at the end of the day, the learner is an open system. It's chaotic, it's complex. Learners are open, they're not so ABC logical, and I think that gives credence to the idea of the classroom being an open system and the school being an open system, and I think it's part of why these barriers to change bother me so much, is because I want my classroom to be open and dynamic and ever changing, and it's great when it is. I searched a bit more of Gordon Hamilton because I really liked what he was saying. I watched a few of his interviews on YouTube and a few of his conversations. So this is his interview at Century Box, where he talks all about the design process and it taking like 10 years to make a good game, and how he tried to make some games with political intentions and they were very, very tricky, and bringing games to conventions and then getting beat at his own game, and all these really, really cool little tidbits. He also has his own YouTube account, and I watched this Wrecker Ball sequence video, really cool sequence by Bernardo Reckinen, that I probably will use on Friday actually. There are a few rules. So every step you move one more. So on the first step you move one, second step you move two, etc. You are trying to move to the left, but you can't go less than 0. You can't go into the negatives, and you can't go back to a space where you already were. So often you have to move to the right. But then sometimes you can move back to the left, and it creates this really cool sequence, which I think if I can clarify the rules, I can give as a problem solving on Friday. This open system thing has been working quite well for me this year, because I've lowered the amount of outcomes that I need to focus on, and I've really raveled them into one string. I've really combined them so that instead of having 12 different units from the textbook, each of which has 10 to 12 lessons, like already that's 200 class periods, I've went to the outcomes and picked the 4 strands: number, probability, shape and space, and patterns, and just have those 4 units. And now that I know what the grade 6 outcomes are, I can really pull them in multiple ways, whether it's through problem solving, whether it's through games, whether it's through direct lessons and direct teaching. And so this year I have time. Like I can, if I buy Santorini this weekend, then I can use my math period on Tuesday or Wednesday or Thursday to teach the game, and then boom, we have a game. Just gonna check the time because I feel like I'm getting pretty long and I don't know how to check on this. Okay, we're at 10 minutes. Sorry. So I'm going to try to buy 4 copies of Santorini. I have 8 students, so it's 2 per student. And my big gripe right now is, will it get covered by the school? I kind of doubt it, or maybe they'll cover one of them, or maybe it'll be like a big, I'll have to go back and forth conversation, and I just don't like doing that, so I'm prepared to pay for them myself, but who knows? I'll post the article, I'll send the article with the cost, and we'll see if I can get four copies of the game covered. Santorini, Gordon Hamilton, and board games as playful, pedagogical pivots. That is all.